Game 2 of the Futsal Champions Series. As this monumental season continues, we witness another first, with the first ever FCS match to be hosted in Ohio. Traveling team Mitwest FC comes from Detroit, starting their season off with a young squad. These youth products of the club face their longest road trip to start the season, where Ginga awaits. The Cincy club is looking to bounce back from a Week 1 loss on the road to Detroit Imperial. In the process, they will surely create an exciting atmosphere for the Cincinnati faithful. It's Ginga, hosting Mitwest, and it starts now.
Welcome to Cincinnati, Ohio for today's FCS match. It's Ginga hosting Mitwest FC. I'm Jared Klepp along with Jake George. We're coming to you live from our studio in Lansing, Michigan. Jake, we got a fun Week 2 matchup here today. A couple of teams developing and the first time FCS going outside of Michigan.
That's right. Yeah, we're in the great state of Ohio today. And for the first time ever for FCS, we did see a few games outside of Lansing Arena last series as a bit of an experiment leading into this season to make sure we can make this thing happen. And sure enough, here we are. And now we're going to be traveling all over Michigan and now Cincinnati, Ohio, with the addition of Ginga in the offseason. And what an exciting place. The Flock is such a great place for the fans and for the players. This is going to be an absolute banger for everyone involved.
Ginga, we talked with them a little bit earlier this week, their coach Satoru Matsushima, as we get ready for kickoff here. Very excited to play at the Flock, as they call it, in front of their home fans in Cincinnati.
Yeah, one of the things that really drives Satoru is the fandom. And he has such a passion for this sport that he wants to share it with everyone and prove to Cincinnati why this is such a special game. And he can't think of a better venue than this to do it, and he cannot wait to create some fun atmosphere, not just competitive, but fun for the fans to enjoy this product.
Yeah, and that's kind of where that word Ginga comes from. If you're not familiar with that, it's actually means it's like a fun technical touch, and that's something that when we spoke, you and I, Jake, spoke with Satoru earlier this week. He was very intent on, we want this to be a fun game for fans to watch. That's going to be an important piece of growing futsal in the United States, is that fans love to see it. As Ginga does have an early chance here, looks like they were able to steal the ball in the, Mitwest is defending fourth, and looks like they're going to have a kick in here in the attacking third. Ginga having an early opportunity across the face of goal. That one's going to be stopped by goalkeeper Josh Postuma. Taking a second to go over the starting lineups for Mitwest. We have in goal Josh Postuma. We have number 2 Luis Mendoza, number 3 Steven Santiago, number 7 Ibrahim Diamande, and number 8 Josh Hahn. One of the 2 Hahn brothers that Jake, Coach Francois of Mitwest said, keep your eye on these Hahn brothers.
That's right, and I'm really interested to see what that brotherly mentality is on the court. I know for me and my brothers, when we're together, depending on whether we're on the same side of the ball or not, really dictates the mentality. And when you're sharing a side of the court, your brotherly love and intention sometimes gets into your play style, and you're really looking to hook up your brother for success. I'm curious to see if these guys have some of those hookup plays as we look ahead to the game.
Looks like we have our first whistle of the game. I believe that was just a ball going out over the sideline, so Ginga will restart there. Trying to build their attack in the attacking half. Looking for their options, seeing how they're going to build. Speaking of how the teams, the styles that they play and how they're going to play, Jake, these are 2 teams that are very much in a developing role right now.
That's right. Ginga, as we talked about in Game 1, as they traveled to Detroit, dealing with a bit of a reset of their own. Took a year off to do some friendlies and kind of reset some fundamentals of the club after spending a couple years in another league. And so they're looking at a completely different lineup than what we saw in those past few years. And then Mitwest, like we said at the beginning of the stream, really leaning on their academy for this season, bringing in a lot of youth that have not gotten those first team touches just yet. So I'm curious to see, whose development propels further in this first season of first for the league as well.
Mitwest with the youngest roster in the league, an average age of 19 years old. They have a kick-in on the sideline here. They're going to be playing in the back, looking for a way forward. Ginga beginning with a high press here.
Something Saturo wanted to really focus on this season was that high press, and we see right out of the gate that they're not wasting any time.
Yeah, that's correct. And, he did say kind of taking something that they learned from game number 1, that loss at Detroit. Ginga realized that in some cases they needed to be selective when they were in high press and when they were in low press.
That's right. I think that one of the things that's very interesting at the AGM during the offseason, there was a lot of coaches training and information around, what the U.S. is doing compared to the rest of the world. And one of the messages from Dushan, the ex-U.S. national team coach, was how the rest of the world does this high press, and how in the U.S. it's kind of a U.S. thing to be sitting in a low press for a majority of a game. And Saturo heard those words and really has embraced it as part of his strategy. And I think that's great. It shows a lot of character and culture from Ginga, and I think you see it not only through him but the players in their willingness to learn and try and improve at all times and hone their craft.
We do apologize for the technical difficulties that we have going on, some image quality issues that we're seeing. We're working very diligently to tie up those ends and solve the issue and bring you guys a great quality picture here. But until that time, it is 0-0 still, and Mitwest do have possession in their defending half, experiencing that high pressure from Ginga, as we were just speaking about.
Yeah, the other thing, too, with this team being, for Mitwest being young and somewhat inexperienced, if I were Ginga, I would keep that high press on, try and get some early turnovers and get a couple goals here, get it rocking and rolling. And then, from there, you should be able to take control of this game, which is going to be so important.
Really have yet to see which team establishes themselves here early on. I think we've seen a little bit more possession from Ginga. Be curious to see as the game goes on. We're going to see a game that was similar to last week's game where Ginga and Detroit were really playing very, very fast, and there wasn't really a lot of possession except for the few times when the goalkeeper was being flown. We didn't see a ton of possession. There was a lot of direct play. We'll see what happens here today as Ginga makes their first major lineup switch.
Playing at home, too, they got a little deeper bench than they did on the road against Detroit Imperial. Resources to lean on here. Now, that one thing that's interesting, Jared, is they are missing one of their key players from Game 1, and that's Nacho Torres.
Yeah, that's right.
He did pick up a bit of a knock in Game 1, just a minor injury that's bugging him. Playing it on the safe side this early in the season, so Turu and Nacho decided it's best, hey, let's take this game off and focus on health for the rest of the season and focusing on the long run.
And Ginga there with an opportunity on the left wing. That one's going to be saved by goalkeeper Josh Pastuma on the Mitwest side. Mitwest still trying to find a way forward and out of the back and out of that high pressure, something that is just so difficult to do, especially as a young team, to get out of that high press. That high press, it's all about accelerating the game and limiting the amount of time you have to make a decision, and it really exposes inexperienced and young players who aren't used to the speed of the game.
Yeah, and you think about the different practices of the sport that we interact with. We see in America the arena soccer game, or indoor soccer as you want to call it, as well as extended national teams at the national level of beach and everything else. And nothing is quite like futsal when it comes to speed, pace, technical ability. This isn't turf with walls around it. This is futsal. This is what the world plays, and it can expose your weaknesses, but it can also highlight your strengths if you let it.
And that was Narek Gasparian with the shot there just moments ago off the save from goalkeeper Gabe Clark from Ginga. He put the ball up high early to Gasparian, and it was a very, very near miss there. Ginga could have seen themselves up 1-0 right away, but right now it's Liane Campos trying to going back to his keeper, and that's a very dangerous giveaway from goalkeeper Gabe Clark, nearly paying the price and conceding a goal here early on. It will be Ginga now again, trying to get out of their back. They're going very direct. It's up to the pivot. A little layoff and set shot that goes just over the bar. It was 26 Eddie Jimenez on the shot. Really a beautiful play from Ginga there, starting with their goalkeeper's throw all the way up to the pivot. We appreciate all of those of you watching at home, your patience with us as we continue to work out the quality of the picture right now on the stream. Looks like our scoreboard is a little bit behind the play as well. We appreciate you bearing with us as we bring you this game. First ever game from Cincinnati, Ohio. First ever FCS game taking place in Ohio. Here at Ginga hosting Mitwest FC.
Yeah, and Ginga no strangers to Cincinnati. You know, this is part of an organization that does a lot with the youth in Cincinnati as well. You know, School of Ginga based in Cincinnati and their involvement with developing youth in the game. And this is an affiliation with those guys and an opportunity for these youngsters to see what could be if they pursue futsal into adulthood. So really good to see this happening. You'll notice in the crowd, as we get through some of these technical difficulties, it's a young crowd, really excited. That's how the Ginga fans have always been, regardless of what league they're playing in. And I think that Coach Satoru knows that, and that's why he takes his stance on their style and their culture as he does, is because he knows that what he's doing now is impacting the future of the sport right before his eyes.
And Ginga here with a very close opportunity inside the arc. And that one's going to be turned aside. Josh Pastuma on the save from Mitwest. And another shot coming in. That one was an ambitious strike from nearly the half line. It's going to go wide and hide, and Pastuma will restart play for Mitwest.
Starting to see a little more offensive product coming out of this high press from Ginga. You got to feel like a goal's coming here any minute.
Certainly do get that feeling, unless Mitwest can figure out some things defensively. Ginga really having their way for the most part. And here's a long one and a header coming back to the likes of Nick Rumisek. He was the one that sent that over to the far post and nearly got it back from teammate Moses Leon. A couple opportunities coming for Ginga across goal. A ball being played and then a square ball being played after that direct pass all the way up, you know, near the arc, inside the arc, and then a square ball coming across. We've seen a couple of those already, and Ginga knocking down the door still. Midwest with their potential for a counterattack here, a turn and a shot, and that one's going to be not enough from Omar Perez, as well as Josh Hahn. Now here's Ginga. It's Rumisek.
Wow.
Gets by one. It's just the goalkeeper to beat. Can't quite get past him. The ball switches sides. And a great little move there. It's saved by goalkeeper Pastuma. But Ginga are still on the attack, and that shot from Roger Straz goes just wide. It does look like the officials are calling a deflection, so I think we're going to have a Ginga corner here, our first corner of the game.
Seen a lot of that Ginga style that we talked about earlier. A couple of sweet moves, a little individualism, and that bit that makes futsal so special on the personal side of the play, and then leaning right into some team play, which, you know, the two big things about futsal, we get to see both those things, and it's really exciting. We got to see Ginga put both together there.
Ginga relentless on the attack still here. It's going to be played in by Moses Leon. There's McKenzie, and now on the far side, cutting in. Stolen by Mitwest, looking for a counterattack. Zachary Landers, Josh Hahn on that. A little touch on the top of the arc, and that's not going to go anywhere. Ginga is going to take possession and go the other way. The ball goes out of bounds for Mitwest kicking as they do their own change of lineups.
Seeing a lot of involvement from Moses down this camera side of the court. He's really been working hard. Now we just need to figure out a way to pull these other players into it, get a couple combination plays, and we're going to see a lot more opportunity from Ginga here than we already have. And so far, they've really been in the driver's seat.
And that was Ibrahim Diomande, number 7 from Mitwest, going down the sideline. He plays the ball in, trying to find a way to get the ball on net. Marcus Lockup in there. Really had too many defenders between him and the goalkeeper to make goalkeeper Gabe Clark nervous at all. It will be Ginga giving it up in their defending half. And we have our first whistle of the game. Excuse me, no, that's just a corner kick. Good defending there from Cole Smith on Ginga. Going to be played in by Marcus Lockabin. The shot coming to Gabe Clark.
Oh, the long one.
There's another long one there. The shot previous, not troubling Clark at all, but we have seen that a few times. Ginga goalkeeper Clark looking to play direct and throw that ball up into the pivot. Now giveaway there again from Ginga. Mitwest looking to do their counter attack. Ginga defending well and quickly have 3 defenders back. And a strike there. Is this an opportunity for Ginga? It's getting in the back of the net. Goal number 1 comes from Ginga. After Mitwest pulled their goalie up for a shot, it's an easy one that just trickles into the back of the net. 1-0 Ginga.
Mitwest really tempting fate, pulling that goalkeeper forward as much as they have here in the last few minutes. And unfortunately, you know, there's a double-edged sword to that. Yes, you've got that extra player up front to apply pressure, but if you're not applying the pressure, then you're really just inviting an easy goal in a wide-open net. And there we saw it. Easy as you like.
So it's going to be goal number 1 for Ginga. Jake, I couldn't quite make out who kicked that ball. Did you see it?
I did. I'm trying to take a look back at our replay system to see if I can find it here and get us an answer, but I did not catch the number.
We'll get that shortly to see who that goal belonged to on the Ginga side. The Ginga on the attack again. They do lose it just for a moment, and it's going to get into the hands of goalkeeper Josh Stuma. The Ginga player hitting the court right here in front of the camera. No whistle. Now a shot. It's coming from Ibrahim Diomande. On the Mitwest side, really not strong enough and much too far to trouble goalkeeper Clark.
Looks like that goal's credited to number 8, Cole Smith for Ginga.
Cole Smith with the first goal of the day. Like you said, Jake, doesn't get too much easier than that, though those full court empty net shots are sometimes harder than you might think.
Yeah, you know, it's so easy it's hard sometimes.
Yeah, it's like being on the far post.
That's right. I hear all the time, sometimes there's something to be said for having too much time to think. But that was nice and easy. Nice trap, popped it forward. Straight touch, straight follow through, and perfect. Not a lot of room for error and no need to be there too, which was good.
And it still hit the post. And
it still somehow hit the post. Yeah.
Yes, it did.
Just like he planned.
And here's another one that is a goal number 2 for Ginga. Putting the heavy pressure on.
Looks like Dima Sherabina there for the second goal.
Yes. Dima Sherabina with goal number 2. It's 2-0 Ginga. See if Mitwest how they will respond here being 2 goals down.
I think it's important to note, too, Dima, someone that really impressed Satoru last week in Detroit. A guy that is fairly new to futsal in his career, but is just eager to learn and is a giant sponge, just trying to soak up as much information and play style and tactic as possible to make himself better, which I think is really, really cool.
I really think that Dima Sherbina does, he does embody that hunger from a futsal player. And really, it's something that I think we've seen as Ginga almost having another opportunity here for an easy knock into the back of the net. Victor Balaguer with the pass there to the far post. But I really think that Dima Sherbina, his hunger to learn, it's kind of the attitude of this entire Ginga team. When we talked to Coach Satoru Matsushima this past week in preparation for the game, he said, we've learned so much even just from our first game. It's like they're so hungry to learn, and you can really see it. As we have a shot here going to the upper 90, that's Luis Mendoza for Mitwest. It's going to be turned aside by Gabe Clark. Nothing too concerning there, but probably the best chance for Mitwest we've seen in these first 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, definitely a good sign of life there. We talked in game 1 when Ginga was facing Detroit Imperial about how momentum swings in futsal can completely change things, and Mitwest needs to find that momentum swing right now. 2 goals is not comfortable in futsal, as we said before, but they cannot let this game get out of control either and let Ginga keep this momentum going.
It's another close one from Victor Balaguer.
Looks like we got a timeout now as well.
We're going to have our first timeout of the game. Just about halfway through this first half. Ginga currently up 2-0. Before we get back to the action, I want to mention that today's match is brought to you by Ally Marketing, your friend in marketing. Taking the next step to grow your business comes with lots of questions and can be expensive. But what if you had an ally in marketing? An honest friend that would seek your best interest? Well, this is Ally Marketing, a marketing business that feels more like a friend. From small to large, businesses that partner with Ally Marketing get the business growth partner they've always wanted. Check out allymarketing.us to learn more. That's ALLY marketing.us. Ally Marketing, let's be friends.
Speaking of friends, you've got to feel after talking to Satoru during our break this week, Jared, that that's really how this team plays. It's starting to feel a little more comfortable, starting to jive together. Like you said, they learned a lot from their mistakes in Detroit, but they really gilded together through that process and have already created some really great team chemistry. Satoru mentioned to us that the guys wouldn't even leave Canton Sala for over an hour after that loss as they sat and constructively built on their mistakes.
Yeah, when we were talking with Coach Satoru, he was saying it was beautiful. That was the word that he used to describe. It was beautiful to see the hunger of these players staying in the locker room after that 8-3 loss at Imperial, just talking, discussing, figuring out what they can do better and how they can improve themselves after just one game, right? One game against the defending FCS champs. And this is their response, not that, we did enough or whatever. It's, we're going to stay, we're going to talk about this, we're going to be here for 90 minutes or more, because we are hungry to compete in this league.
I absolutely love that. When you're in a place where Ginga is, where they talk about being in a developmental stage, can you ask for any better than a team wanting to learn to a point that they're not even willing to get back in the car for a 4.5-hour drive home until they sort things out and get on the same page? I think that's amazing.
Just being hungry. That's amazing. So we get back to the action here. Ginga with a couple opportunities. Again, looking direct is goalkeeper Gabe Clark. He's going to be knocked out of bounds by Mitwest, so it will be a Ginga kick. There he is, number 2, coach and player Satoru Matsushima, leading the charge for his Ginga side. They're still pressing Mitwest, still having trouble handling that high press. Perhaps a counterattack comes from here. A little miscommunication there from Nick Rumasek and Satoru Matsushima. But speaking of coach and player Satoru Matsushima, probably the most futsal experience on the court today, Jake.
Yeah, absolutely. Satoru is borrowing from his experience. He's been all over the world, his roots being in Japan and playing in the F League to start his career. He also has experience in Thailand as well. He's learned from some of the best in the sport. A lot of Spanish and Portuguese influence in the Eastern game. A lot of these clubs are bringing in coaches from Spain and Portugal who seem to be doing it the best at all levels. And so he's learned a ton from some of the best coaches there are out there.
Ginga nearly getting another goal there. In fact, Cole Smith nearly adding to his goal tally. Not quite on the same page as teammate Moses Leon. Continuing that high press. Looks like in that case, Mitwest goalkeeper Josh Pastuma not able to touch there. The ball coming right across goal off the corner. That was much too close to the goal line for the goalkeeper's liking.
Had to get down and get a little uncomfortable there to make sure that stayed out of the danger zone.
Trying to keep Mitwest at only a 2-goal deficit. Just to comment very quickly about that ball rolling over the end line, the goalkeeper not touching it. If you are unfamiliar with futsal, there is something called a second touch, which is an infraction by the goalkeeper. When in possession of the ball on your own half, as we have another good save there from goalkeeper Postuma. When you're in your own half and in possession, the goalkeeper can only touch the ball once, and that does include the restart. If there's a goal restart, that does count as a touch. So in that case, if the goalkeeper would have touched it, that would have been a second touch, and it would have been a turnover. And in fact, a free kick from a very uncomfortable area, as we have a header coming from Ginga. That is Dima Sherbina almost putting that one to the back of the net.
Always brave, even for adults, to be putting a head on a ball in futsal. That's a lot of density. For me, it's not a problem, Jared. I'm just as dense, but for others, maybe not so much.
A lot of density. I feel like we're going to be using that all season long, talking about the density of this ball.
I hope so.
West, could they be putting something on here? Looks like Ginga trying to thwart this. We're going to have our first whistle of the game. It looks like we are. It's going to be Juliane Campos hitting the turf, hitting the court for the first time.
An ironic reference.
I did some USL games earlier this year, so turf and grass, and I got to make sure it gets out of my vocabulary for these games. And that's a dangerous giveaway for Ginga. Mitwest on their counterattack. A nice sliding defensive effort coming from the Ginga Fixo. And now Ginga with a 2v2. Here comes a third player. Shot coming by. It's going to be Dima Sherbina. Goal number 3 and second of the night for him.
Amazing play to get himself there and see how he shielded the play in the build-up there to create that space. Really impressive. Didn't lose sight of the direction of the play. And a nice, easy tap-in past the goalie. Look at that. I mean, he is by himself in the middle of nowhere.
Great play from Moses Leon on the other side with some nice technical touches, getting by his defender and placing that pass to the far post in a place where only Dima Sherbina could get it. Leon's going to tack on an assist to his stat sheet. And Sherbina now with those 2 goals.
We saw a little bit of this in Detroit when we watched Ginga last week, and they have been playing really physical to start the season. They've done a great job controlling this game and not letting that physicality get them in trouble, but they've really been dominating on the ball in 50-50s, and in situations like that where they need to force some space, doing it in a clean way and just really bringing the physicality and bringing the strength that we get to see sometimes showcased in futsal, but seeing it across the court. Really, really cool.
And that's something that you got to love to see as a Ginga fan or coach, player, as we have another rocket of a shot there. Bazinga. That one missed just by a little bit. But you got to love to see the effort that you're talking about, Jake. You know, because they are without Nacho Torres, as we mentioned earlier, and he was one of their key players winning those 50-50 balls in their game against Detroit Imperial. So continuing to see that success in winning the 50-50s and staying in control of this match. Ginga able to do so. Now we have Campos on it. He's looking for the long one. He's open. A shot. Looks like that one ricochets off the post. Jorge Guinevart. Ooh, the ball took one bounce, and it was a volley off the bounce. I'm sure.
Great lift across the court there as well to get it to him.
Absolutely. Very much so, as Ginga not done yet, still on the attack. It's Campos looking to get a ball across the face of goal, not able to do so. It's going to be a keeper restart for Mitwest.
And Jared, you mentioned Nacho and his impact in the game last week. I mean, he has brought a wealth of experience from his time in Ecuador in the top flight there, a place where physicality is a big part of the game there in South America. And, he has brought it here in a big way and was a big part of Ginga trying to stay in the mix in those 50-50s against an equally, if not more physical Detroit Imperial. And he really did put his fingerprints all over that game.
Just moments ago, Alvaro Garcia and Ibrahim Demande on the Mitwest side combining for another opportunity for them. Not a shot on goal, but anything will help at this point for them. Oh, another, wow. Ginga, how comfortable do they look right now, Jake?
Man, they look so cozy. This is home court advantage at its finest in the flock in front of your fans. You want to put a show on for everyone that showed up to see you. This is the energy you feed off of. And this team, with their mentality during this week and their thoughtfulness of wanting to push forward and improve from what they did last week, they've not changed their strategy. Something that was really important to Satoru when we talked to him in the week. We're not going to change what our game plan is for the season, but we do need to find a way to implement it better. And we're seeing that tonight, plain and simple.
Oh, a bad giveaway there from Mitwest. And that is going to turn into the ball in the back of the net for Ginga. That was number 24, Roger Straz, making the interception. The second effort. It's 3-0 Ginga. Is that
Great
4?
play by Robert.
That's 4. 4-0 Ginga.
Great effort by Robert. Someone else who worked like crazy in that last match finds himself on the score sheet for the first time this season. Good for him. This young Mitwest side, it's time for them to start figuring something out, applying some pressure, and not let Ginga stay this comfortable. There's a whole nother half after this to go. We got a long ways to go. This could either get really ugly or really competitive if they can do something right now.
Ginga in prime position to add to this 4-goal lead with a corner here. The ball coming inside. That one is going to be saved by the Mitwest defender. Was trying to find a way forward. A little bit of combination there. Ibrahim Diamande. I believe that's Alvaro Garcia, who was also in on that.
You can tell this young team's still trying to figure it out on this senior squad. There's just been a few miscommunications between Mitwest where two players are taking up the same space. And when you do that, not only are you crowding the space, but you bring your defender with you too. And that's why they can't quite find that lethal finish or that great opportunity yet that we've yet to see from Mitwest in this first half.
That was Marcus Lockabin playing that ball across the face of goal, just missing his teammate attacker on the far side. We've talked a lot in this game about the youth of Mitwest and how Ginga has been controlling this game. It looks like we're going to have a change of possession on the far side. Perhaps a bad kick in. Ball has to be on the line. Looks like maybe it's going right back to Ginga. In order for that ball to be played in, it's got to be right on the line, and sometimes that's not exactly what you're thinking about as a player, but you got to be tuned in and focused. But as I was mentioning, we've talked a lot about the youth of Mitwest and how Ginga's been controlling this game. They're clearly having their way so far. But you do have to give credit to Mitwest. I mean, playing the youthful players that they are and the experience that they're getting on the court tonight, it may not be looking pretty so far, but I know if I was one of those players, I would definitely be very appreciative of this, the senior team experience playing a team like Ginga tonight.
it goes back to what we talked about when we introduced the club at the beginning of the night. It's a developmental mindset, and Francois putting his money where his mouth is tonight and playing a lot of young players that are getting some crucial experience. You know, when we talked to Francois, it was he's got an optimistic look on futsal in the U.S. You know, the sky is the limit. There's so much untapped potential for the game here. Of course, we believe in that too here at FCS, but you know, Francois sees that vision and he wants to provide something that'll develop the game, and he does a lot of that through these young guys. So maybe not exactly the results they want to see right now, but hopefully we get to see them develop throughout the year, and maybe in a game or two we get to say, man, remember what we were watching in that first game in Cincinnati, and look how far they've come.
And we still have, you know, part of a first half and a whole nother second half to play. You can see what kind of adjustments that they make and see what they can make of this game. So far, though, it's been all Ginga, very minimal Mitwest attack. Maybe one shot that was dangerous. Right now, Ginga still putting on the attack, and it's going to be another save from Pastuma, a good one on that. You know, we'll probably talk a little bit about the stats at halftime. I wasn't keeping great track of the saves from Josh Pastuma until partway into this half, but pretty sure he has somewhere around 15 saves already.
He's certainly been in a shooting gallery today. You know, that high press of Ginga really making things tough on these young guys at Mitwest. You know, one of the things that's hardest about futsal is making those good decisions and making them quick, and these guys are learning in a very intense environment right now.
Here comes Mitwest. What can they make of this? A great little move there from Louis Mendoza. One of the players to watch for Mitwest, number 2, Louis Mendoza. The shot coming from half here, and Gabe Clark, goalkeeper for Ginga, needing to hit the court to touch that one out of bounds. Good opportunity for Mitwest, and they have a corner. The shot off first time. That one's going to go sail well above the crossbar. So Ginga will restart through their keeper, Gabe Clark. They play it short. Now find into the middle, over to Satoru Matsushima. He plays it across to the other side, and there is another touch in goal from Ginga. Mitwest just lost on that one. Not tracking back. I believe that's going to be... Couldn't quite make out the number of... I think it might have been Juliane Campos who put that in the back of the net.
Look at the passing sequence there for Ginga. Really amazing how much space was covered. You know, I tell kids all the time, in any sport, you know, what works harder, you or the ball? And of course the answer is always a person works harder than an inanimate object, and Ginga making the ball do the work, covering this entire 40 by 20 court in a big way, and in a few passes, we've got a goal. Amazing.
And we have a yellow card being issued. That's going to be to Juliane Campos, just the recent goal scorer. I didn't see anything from my perspective that warranted a yellow. Jake, what did you see there?
I could not quite see through a Mitwest player what bothered the referee there, but you know, we did talk earlier in the game about the physicality of Ginga and what they're bringing this year, and trying to make sure we stay out of trouble with that as a team. And that's the little stuff like that you don't want to get out of hand, is because when you play this physical, it's easy to come in late if you're not really super hyper focused, and it looks like maybe that was the case there.
So add that foul and card to the tally for Ginga. Juliane Campos receiving that caution. And now he stands over a free kick for Ginga after the foul from Mitwest. See what he does here. It's like a shot blocked by the wall of Mitwest. Ginga taking possession. Great little move there. Jorge Guinevart unable to keep it on the second defender.
Zach Landers trying to find something from Mitwest there, but just looks like the ball got caught a little too underneath him, and he couldn't quite get feet right on that to really break away, and plenty of time for this Ginga side, who's already tasted some FCS play to just jump all over it and snuff it out.
Riley McKenzie to put the ball back into play. Another direct ball to pivot Nair Kasparian. Trying to play a cheeky little ball over to the far side. Not able to complete that, but Ginga will have a kick in here on the near side with just about a minute left in this first half.
Roger Strasbeck in the game and already making big passing plays to open up this court. And one of the things that Saturo talked about was a challenge at Canton Sala was the court size difference. You know, in most of the games we see here in FCS, we're looking at a FIFA-sized court. The Imperial court is very tight, as you guys could see from the stream. It's a very intimate crowd being right on top of the court. And here, very expansive, a lot of room to play. Got to make the most of it. And I think Saturo's guys clearly feel much more comfortable with this much space.
They do, you can tell. So we have a whistle there. That's going to be the end of half number one. Ginga putting the pressure on Mitwest. They're all over them. It's 5-0 after half number one. We'll be back in just a little bit after this break. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Cincinnati, Ohio. We have the second half coming up very shortly between Ginga and Mitwest. Ginga hosting the first FCS game outside of Michigan, and also with the 5-0 lead over Mitwest. Jake, your thoughts from that first half?
Yeah, for me, my focus is on Mitwest. They really need to figure out a way to stop the bleeding here on this 5-0 scoreline. There is still 20 minutes to go. And if I were them, my mindset would be, hey, if they can do it, so can we. And they need to come up with 5 goals in the second half, get focused. One of the things I think I noticed from their play so far, these young guys are getting used to the pace of these grown men. And the ball is getting under them a little bit too much. They need to get that first touch off just a little bit sooner, set themselves up for success, use those young legs and get some speed going here so they can get some counterattacks like Francois likes in their strategy and start scoring some goals.
Yes, Mitwest definitely have their work cut out for them coming up into this second half. But Ginga, on the other hand, their first game at home, they're looking very comfortable dominating this game right now, 5-0.
Yeah, home sweet home. I mean, it's a completely different side than what we saw last week against Imperial. I would almost even venture to say the lessons that Ginga learned at Detroit Imperial, they seem to be teaching now to Mitwest. You know, we saw a lot of that timidness out of Ginga in that first game, maybe some first game of the season jitters. They were doing a high press, but not quite fully committing to it. You know, getting up the court, but not sticking the foot in like I like to see. But this game, I mean, zero hesitation, bloodthirsty mentality. And Mitwest is learning trial by fire right now. and trying to figure out how to change this momentum. But right now, the momentum is all Ginga all the time.
And if there is something that we have learned about Ginga very, very early in this season, only with 3 halves that they've played, is they are a hungry team. They have players that are hungry to learn. They have a team that is hungry to learn. They have some experience, well, actually, a lot of experience in their coach Satoru Matsushima, international experience, Japan, Thailand, learning from coaches that have been in the most developed futsal countries like Brazil and Argentina and Spain, Portugal. We have seen them be very hungry, and this is something that, I hope Mitwest grabs onto that hunger tonight.
Yeah, hopefully this is a lesson that they can learn quickly and find that hunger themselves. I mean, this is the big time for U.S. Futsal as FCS, and you're on the grand stage right now. We've got all our wonderful viewers on the stream as well as the fans in the arena. These Cincinnati fans came out for a show, and you want to make sure you're a part of it in a good way. And these guys, they also want to make sure that they're in their spot for the next game as well. You see some of the roster changes, although not many, that Satoru made. There is a player pool in all these cities, and the futsal community is really livened up in the last year, I think, as they watch what's going on in the rest of the world, especially with the World Cup this year, getting people excited and inspired. So it's time to show that inspiration now in the way we play, and for Mitwest, it's time to turn things around.
Certainly a long road ahead of them in this upcoming half. But FCS action will continue next week for Week 3 of the FCS. Saturday, November 23rd, we have a full slate of games. Jake, it's going to be one of the times this season all 6 teams from the FCS have a game on the same day.
Yeah, I mean, eat your heart out, guys. If you're enjoying FCS so far, you're going to get a full serving of it next week. And like Jared said, every single team in action. Some teams we haven't gotten to see just yet. For me, one of the big highlights for next week is going to be that battle for Grand Rapids. We see Midwest United coming out and getting their first action, and they're going to be facing Olay, Grand Rapids Olay. So this is 2 clubs that have seen players shared, have seen action before, and all know each other really, really well. There may not be, talking to some of the players, they've been playing it down just a little bit, like, well, we know each other, we're friends, but it is going to be competitive. I think this is going to turn into a really interesting rivalry that's going to really impact the rest of the league. And then speaking of cross-city attention, Detroit facing off against each other as well. Mitwest will be hosting the Detroit Imperial we got to see last week. So a lot of really interesting stuff going on. Yeah, absolutely. It's time to play for pride in a big way next week. And then we get to see Lansing for the first time, too, which is always exciting.
Oh, yes. It's going to be super exciting to see Lansing City for the first time. And Ginga in their 3rd game that time as well. That's next week, all here as we bring you the live stream of FCS. Next week, Saturday, November 23rd. Coverage begins at 5:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we are off and going for half number 2. Ginga with their 5-0 lead and almost a goal in the first 8 seconds. That one whizzing right by. Believe that was Riley McKenzie on the far post, number 19. Ginga putting the pressure on early, and McKenzie again. This time it doesn't get by him. That's goal number 1 for him and goal number 6 for Ginga. And we're not even 20 seconds into this second half. 6-0.
Ginga is feeling good, and it shows. One of the things that they've really set up with their schedule that's going to be tough is managing 3 straight games, 3 weeks in a row, and they've done a good job of it so far, and they are just absolutely cruising in game 2 of 3 straight.
So Ginga very quickly adding to their cushion. And Midwest trying to figure something out under heavy pressure all day long by this Ginga high press.
Very positive high press out of Ginga. When you see what we saw last week and not fully committing to it, that's what can lead to counterattacks and a lot of vulnerability, but they've really fully committed. And one of the things we talked to Satoru about, one of the things he was really adamant about is he talked about prep for the game was managing physical and mental health and showcasing to Cincinnati through that process how these guys are going to play. And I think mentally, Ginga clearly looks very strong right now, physically looking really strong, even if it's against a young team. And I got to imagine Saturo so far is very happy with what he showcased to the city of Cincinnati.
The shot there going well wide for Ginga. Mitwest will restart from the goalkeeper, Josh Pastuma. Here's Josh Hahn up the sideline, trying to find his teammate in the pivot position. It's going to go out of bounds. It was Luis Mendoza who was up the court for Mitwest. So now Ginga have an opportunity to build from the back.
Interesting, too. It looks like we see a goalie change from Ginga as well, taking advantage of this cushion to try out maybe some different tactics with the goalie in between the posts.
It looks like that's Yair Delphin. We saw him in one of the summer exhibitions here at the Lansing City Arena, where our remote studio is located. That one's going to go out of bounds too far and fast for Cole Smith. Mitwest again locked in their own half in the corner, trying to find a way out. And it looks like they were just about to maybe break that high press, but it's too much for Nathan Hahn. Stays with it to defend, but Ginga have it again. Mitwest at this point, I'm sure, getting pretty weary of trying to keep the ball and get forward under this high pressure of Ginga.
Yeah, you see with how far back they're sitting trying to break this high press, and that means there's very little room for failure and very little room for time. So if they're going to find a way to break through this, it's going to be really important for these young guys to make quick, positive decisions to get out of that trouble and find that breaking pass. And so far, we haven't quite seen it. It looks like some second half jitters with this restart, maybe looking a little nervous coming out of the gate.
Ginga looking as comfortable as ever. Again, that goalie change. Yair Delphin now in net for Ginga. Gets his first touch at his foot. And here's an opportunity for Mitwest. That one just missed off the half volley from Luis Mendoza. But now Ginga, almost making them pay. Zachary Landers in the right place at the right time to stop that one from finding nylon.
And a double save right after that for the goalie. Everybody getting some time making saves.
There's plenty of those to go around so far on the defending side for Mitwest, unfortunately for them. Now somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 saves on the day for Josh Pastuma, Mitwest goalkeeper. Now some nice moves there from Josh Hahn. He hits the court. Play continues. That was Ibrahim Diomande taking his chance. And now Zach Landers going at a defender. Something you love to see. You love to see this young Mitwest team attacking, as we do have a added foul for Mitwest that's going to be their first of the half. But, Jake, something that can be difficult, especially for younger players, is having that confidence to go at a player when you're in that ala position, when you're on the side, to take someone on 1v1. And it's something that we are seeing some of the Mitwest players do this half.
Yeah, there's a lot of growing up fast that happens through this process. I mean, this is a physical sport. It's a fast sport. And it's not we're not playing on a soft mattress here. This is a nice hard surface. So you are going to be punished when you aren't ready to rock and roll. So these young guys, they got to put the fear aside and harness their inner warrior here and find a way to take control of this game and play with a little more confidence and take this game back.
Just a quick correction there. I mentioned a foul added on from Mitwest. It was actually added on for Ginga. I got mixed up there a little bit. So Ginga does have the one foul, as you can see on the score there. Those red boxes, the filled in red, that indicates the one foul. And, of course, counting up to those magical 6 foul PKs and Ginga currently with 2 now, and Mitwest with none. Ginga on a counterattack, though. They start to slow it down. It's 4-on-3. One Mitwest player still trying to track back. He does get there. Oh, a nice little ball being played in there by Dima Sherbina. 3 goals from him on the first half. A hat trick. Just a player on the Ginga side. Jake, you and I were talking a little bit off broadcast. Very impressed with his play so far over these first 2 weeks of play for Ginga.
Absolutely. We talked about his commitment to the game and some of the things he's done. Great save there in the meantime by Mitwest.
Off the post, it looked like. Yeah, so almost hit
enough.
Almost right into that upper 90 for Juliana Campos. That's going to hit the post.
Yeah, goal number 7 ruined by that ugly white stick. But in the meantime, Dima has been so impressive in these first 2 games, and it's hard to believe when talking to Coach Saturo how little experience he had going into this season. And he's really embraced the game, and it really shows. One of the things I always give futsal community and futsal fans a lot of credit for, Dima embodies this, in my opinion. We're a passionate bunch. You got to be involved in this sport, especially at the level it's at today. It is pure passion that feeds this community. He's really embodied that so far, which I find very impressive.
And like you mentioned, just a couple of months of futsal experience. That's what Satoru Matsushima, coach of Ginga, mentioned, that Dima Sherbina has only recently started playing futsal, and we've seen a lot of hunger out of him, a lot of hunger to learn and to develop from this Ginga team, and we're seeing them very comfortable playing here tonight. And Mitwest still trying to find their way, and we are going to have a foul first into the tally on the Mitwest side for one goes against number 12, who I actually don't have on our roster sheet. So not exactly sure who that is.
Oh, no
now,
way.
Ginga. What a goal. Jorge Guinevart. A little flick. And Postuma trying to touch it over the bar, but the flick ends up being too much. Fans got to love that one.
Getting a nice little flick, a nice little chip over the goalkeeper, always exciting, always a little cheeky, which everybody enjoys. It looks like Josh might have lost track of where he was in his arc a little bit there, thinking he just had a simple push over the post. An unfortunate slip up there for a keeper that's otherwise been, under fire quite a bit and dealing with a lot of pressure, but he's finding a way to make it work, but just not quite there.
So number 7 for Ginga up on the board. In complete control, really from the beginning whistle. 5 minutes into this second half. What does Mitwest have that they can bring out right now? How can they find something valuable in the game? We have seen moments. We have seen them take on players 1v1. Oh, and another flick on there from Riley McKenzie. I think he was looking for Guinevart on the far side.
We talked about the Ginga impact being fun. We're seeing a lot of fun out of Ginga so far this second half.
Now Mitwest getting into attacking territory here. Long shot there from Ibrahim Diomande. That one's going to go wide of the goalpost. Your Delphin not too bothered by it. And that's a dangerous ball. Mitwest with a counterattacking opportunity, trying to find the back post. Still there, Jingo's able to get it out. Usama Al-Shawaf leading that attack. Ibrahim Diomande was there. Eddie Jimenez working with Nick Rumasek on the Ginga side, trying to gain possession. And they do win a kick
Ginga
in on the
really
far
punish
side.
Here. I think Ginga just gave away a gift there from Mitwest. Nobody on Mitwest side resetting for that kick in. It looks like Ginga missed that opportunity as well and didn't see 2 of their players sleeping on the other half, but could have been super detrimental to Mitwest as they try and find a way to get into this game.
And you got to wonder, with the scoreline being where it is Mitwest thinking about flying the keeper, as that one misses the goal, not by much, coming all the way from goalkeeper Delphin. You know, does Mitwest think about flying the keeper here soon, or adding a fifth attacker?
You know, all this scoring kind of started from a goalkeeper playing forward and being able to take advantage. So it's curious. You know, great shot and save there for Mitwest as we talk about it. But you know, is that killing the confidence? Apparently not, because we do see Postuma coming up here for at least this kick in.
You can see him there getting up into the attacking half, where he is not on his touch restriction as a goalkeeper. Quickly needing to get back and able to kick that one aside is Postuma for a Ginga corner.
Again, if they want, they can act fast and take advantage of some miscommunications here on the Mitwest side. And there it is.
And they do. Who else? Goal number 4 for Dima Sherbina. As Mitwest goes to 8 goals. He has half their goals. 8-0 Ginga.
If Dima wasn't loving futsal before today, he definitely is tonight.
Nothing like the boost of scoring half your team's goals in a high-scoring match for your team, at least.
As I said in the setup for that, just really sloppy setup there for Mitwest. These guys, I don't know if scoreline's getting to them or if it's that youthful inexperience, but all bunched up in the middle, really not ready to defend that corner. Ginga could have done a lot more damage there with how lethal that shot could have been in the initial pass, but still found a way to score because they just could not get organized.
And there was Sherbina again. Added another shot to his tally. Scooped up by Josh Postuma. Oh, but here we go again. That's lovely. Cole Smith, a little trickery. Goalie goes one way. Ooh, look at that. And he puts it into the back of the net, almost the side net with the left foot. 9-0 Ginga.
Cole is no stranger to the goal tonight, and man, everybody getting involved today. He has been really impressive this game so far, and we find ourselves celebrating Cole again as he celebrates another goal.
And timeout here called by Ginga, their first of the half. I'm going to take this time. Let's just talk a little bit about, for those that didn't hear at halftime, what's coming up for the FCS, the upcoming action next week, week number 3, Saturday, November 23rd. We have a full slate of FCS games. It's going to be one of the times this season that all 6 teams are playing on the same day. We're going to see if we have, there it is, we have the showing here the games that are going on next week, the coverage beginning at 5:15 p.m. I see up there it says week 9. This is not week 9. It's going to be week 3 on November 23rd. But starting off the day at 6 p.m., it's going to be Lansing City getting their first action, visiting right here in Cincinnati, the Flock.
Yeah, you know, Cincinnati right in the thick of a 3-game stretch, and they have gone from challenge to challenge to challenge in their inaugural season. Lansing, for the first time in FCS, leaving the arena, and they are going to find themselves all the way in Cincinnati, taking on this fresh challenge of Ginga. Not so fresh with some preseason games. These guys are starting to get familiar with each other, but this should be a cracker and a great way to introduce Lansing City to this season.
The other 2 games going on at 8 p.m. We got Mitwest is going to be hosting Detroit Imperial. Could be some rivalry going on there with a lot of players on the Imperial side formerly playing for Mitwest. And then, of course, as we mentioned earlier, the battle for Grand Rapids. The 2 Grand Rapids teams are going to face off against each other, Grand Rapids Ole and Midwest United. As we return to the match here after the timeout, both teams getting a breather almost halfway through this second half. Ginga up 9-0, and they're on the attack. Pressure on Moses Leon here, and he does lose it. But Mitwest not able to do anything with that takeaway.
Mitwest still trying to find their footing here in game one of their league competition, but this youthfulness of this team hopefully can find some answers, and we want to see them get something out of this game, of course, and give us something exciting to talk about, because it's a young team with a lot of promise, and we want to be able to praise them a little bit here in their efforts.
Matsushima there, not able to keep it in play. He thought he was, but the official's going to say his opinion is different, and it's the one that matters. So Mitwest is going to get the kick in here on their own half. See what they can do here. Ball coming up to Diamande. That one just missing the goal. Not by much on the touch.
Looks like a little deflection there from our keeper.
Yeah, I think it was deflected by Ear Delphin there. Goalkeeper for Ginga. And Mitwest is going to have, I think this might be their first corner of the day. A chance. That one, Alvaro Garcia probably going to want that one back. The deflection just barely missing that near post. Probably the best chance we've seen for Mitwest all game on that corner, and the deflection popping out right to the foot of Garcia. This Delphin's going to just cream that one into the curtains.
That one could have gone in futsal court in any direction.
Someone's going to make it back to Michigan, I think. So here is Mitwest on the attack. Not able to complete anything there. It is going to be a kick in. So Mitwest with an opportunity to do some high pressure. Looks like instead going to get beat by direct play. Juliani Campos for Ginga. All playing the ball in. A shot coming from near the half line. Takes a deflection off of a Mitwest player, and now it's a Ginga kick. Another shot there, taking a deflection.
A few long-range shots we've seen here now.
Yeah. Let's see here from Mitwest, a good kick save on the shot from Ibrahim Diamande. And that one is going to be scooped up by Yair Delphin of Ginga. Another near miss on the Ginga side. That one's Narek Gasparian.
Last two offensive efforts from Mitwest getting incrementally more attractive as we play here. As we see an unfortunate miss, another half-court opportunity. But the last play, we complimented Mitwest, their best opportunity so far of the game, and then I think that one might even trump the last one. So maybe they're building something up here.
Mitwest have been climbing uphill all game. That one made its way outside of the line. So Mitwest with an opportunity for possession in the attacking half, and that shot's going to be wild from Zach Landers. It will be restarted by Ginga goalkeeper Delphin. Direct ball into the pivot. Trying to find some space. That's Gasparian. Puts the ball into touch, and it will be Mitwest restarting play from there deep in their own half. They're able to get it near midcourt before it's going to find its way out of bounds again. Marcus Lockabin going to restart the game, and here's Diamande. Good sportsmanship there. Campos helping up. Opposing player, Diamande. Now here comes Sherbina.
Great little combination so far.
Great save. Postuma extending his leg. And it's Sherbina hitting a wild one there as we take a look back at the kick save. Great movement from Postuma. He did have some help from his defender in the back of the net, but well done. Add another save to his tally. Oh, and there's a shot that's going to be turned aside. Victor Balaguer. Now taking the corner for Ginga as well. That one coming across the face of goal. Sliding in, Juliani Campos gets a touch on it, but it's going to be saved. Josh Postuma. Staying strong with all of the action that he has seen tonight. Lots of shots on goal. He has been in harm's way all night long.
Great opportunity for Mitwest here to start some combination plays, but they just can't seem to get past half court here recently. Couple fleeting moments of some nice offense, but haven't seen anything since.
Nice ball there from Sherbina. A shot coming from the far side. It's going to be another save. Josh Postuma. There it is right there. We see that left-footed strike and save over
Way to paw that away.
Excellent reflexes from Postuma. Now Mitwest with an opportunity deep in Ginga's territory. Goalkeeper Possum is going to come all the way up to take this one. We're going to have 5 attackers for the moment. An open net. See what they can do here. In trouble. Mitwest able to retain possession, a sliding defense.
Great save.
Good save from Yair Delphin there. Thwarting the attack, but Mitwest still threatening with the kick right near the corner there. Out shot from Marcus Lockabin. Going to be blocked. Sherbina standing in the way, and that shot is going to sail wide and high of Delphin's net. So he will restart it for Ginga. 7:02 to go in half number 2.
We saw a fleeting moment of what could be with that flying goalkeeper. We vested already once this half, but again, especially looking inside of 7 minutes, at what point do you throw everything you have at this and try and get Ginga on their on their heels, and looked like Josh on that kick and really wanted to stay involved in the offense, but was uncertain whether he should fully commit or not. Why not let that young man stay up there a little bit and maybe make a change in this game?
A little shaky on the possession there for Ginga. Goalkeeper Delphin's going to have to clear it, and Mitwest will obtain possession as they still have it now. Under pressure from Ginga. Now Josh Hahn with his back to the defender. That's just a position you never want to find yourself in deep in your own territory.
Absolutely not. You're cutting out the help that you have by facing away from them. It's hard to get turned, especially under that intense pressure, and running out of court space really quick.
Ooh, and that one, Riley McKenzie off the corner. The strong connection, but it's not on target, so Postuma will restart play for Mitwest. Quickly goes out of bounds in favor of Ginga. And that pass a little wild, much over the head of Eddie Jimenez in the Ginga side.
I think if the other direction was Michigan, that might have been Kentucky.
Ginga putting the ball all over the U.S. tonight.
It's a global game.
But 9 times in the back of the net, so they're clearly on target.
That's right. We'll give them these 2. How about that?
Here they are again, a strong strike. Jorge Guinevart trying to add to his 1-goal tally. That one's going to go just wide. With that one, almost getting through the legs of Postuma. Another save to his tally. Mitwest player hits the deck and a little chip. That one's going to be goal number 10 for Ginga. Number 4, Victor Balaguer. He's going to get
nice
his
little
first
chip
goal.
by Victor.
Yeah, excellent chip. Heads up play from him, realizing the chip the best way to go. I did see just for a moment a little bit of complaining coming from the Mitwest bench. I think they thought there should have been some kind of foul called. But nothing came from the officials, and we have our 10th goal of the match. Almost matching the number of goals that were scored last week, but this time it's all one team.
Yeah, Ginga looking super comfortable, feeling really good. One thing I will give them credit for away from the scoreline is that they've stuck to the game plan. Sometimes when players are feeling this good, it's easy for them to kind of get a little tunnel vision and want a little bit of the action and, get some of the glory and get a little greedy with the ball. But Ginga's sticking to the game plan, working together as a team. Again, we've talked about that culture a lot this stream over there at Ginga, and they've done a great job of showcasing it tonight and, really sticking to the game plan and working as a unit.
Just under 5 minutes to go in this game. Ginga now playing out of the back. Here's a direct ball up to the pivot. He's all alone, catches them on a substitution. No, boy, we're just kind of a little bit of falling apart here on that substitution from Mitwest. It's 11-0 Ginga.
Too many players behind the line of the ball, and easy as you like for Ginga there. I mean, it's for Mitwest. I know you're down by 11, but keep the heads up high. Keep playing with pride, and find a way to get out from under the thumb of Ginga on this, and have something to take home to think about.
That was Satoru Matsushima, coach and player for Ginga, adding his name to the goal tally for Ginga, his first of the night. Just a really poor timing of the sub. I think maybe the substitution, Mitwest didn't catch that Ginga was playing quickly, and it just caught them on their heels. In any case, Ginga now having a kick in their own half. Looking to play direct again to the far side. No one's there. Ginga players not on the same page with 3.5 to go. Mitwest will take over possession. It looks like we actually had a bad kick in from Ginga, so Mitwest retains possession on the sideline. Do they have something here? No, Ginga's able to recover, and now they're on the attack once again. Here comes Mitwest through the middle, trying to find something, anything, being down here 11 goals with 3 minutes to go.
We got to talk to Francois during the week and how he plans for his team. Talked a lot about the analytics and the data of the game, and I'm curious to see, what when you coach that way and you're thinking in that mindset, a game like this that's really been very difficult from beginning to end. What do you take from that, and how do you create something positive out of this negative? I think for any coach, regardless of your coaching style, that's difficult to do, but extremely necessary if you want to move forward from this.
And it's got to be something that you can draw something from. I mean, I think that's the story of any team playing any sport. Whatever experience you have, you got to always be learning. You got to always pull something from an experience. And that's going to be a tricky part of Francois' job over the next week, is what this Mitwest team takes away from this first outing in the FCS.
Yeah, and things aren't going to get any easier for you looking ahead. As we looked at the match schedule before, your next challenge, great shot there for Mitwest. Seeing some activity now as we speak about it, but your next challenge is against the defending champs, so it's not like you get to get out of this meat grinder and get into an easy game from here. So they're going to have to figure things out quick, work really hard, and find a way to turn this around and learn something from this. Hopefully, they go down the same track that Ginga did from their experience with Detroit Imperial and turn it into a positive and find a way to create a lot of opportunity out of an otherwise, tough environment.
And that game next week for Mitwest against Detroit Imperial that you're speaking of, that is, an added layer to that. Many players from the Imperial roster had been playing for Mitwest in the past. Kind of has the makings of a potential rivalry in that sense. So not only are they going to be facing defending champs, but they're going to be facing, some players that are probably very intent on coming out with a victory against them. So not an easy road ahead for Mitwest as they look to find the back of the net in the final couple minutes of play. This is Omar Perez under a double, and Juliani Campos comes away with it. Mitwest able to survive for the time being, but Ginga with 11 to their name, still knocking on the door.
I was very fortunate to be able to meet with the coaches during the AGM for FCS over the offseason, and thinking about both rivalries, crosstown rivalries between Grand Rapids and Detroit, both sets of coaches really downplaying that opportunity. Players too, kind of saying, well, it's all friendly competition. And I did get to talk to Sammy Esquivel recently and did an interview with him about his experience with the national team training camp. And this came up as we were talking is, hey, now all these new opportunities, you're in a new league, what does that mean to you and your focus? And he said, they were looking forward to the new rivalries. So I think that depending on whether you're talking to the players and, their mind and their manners, it's preseason as opposed to the players that are hungry for something like that to feed them. This could evolve into some really intense classics really quickly for these few clubs.
And just there was Jorge Guinevart, with nearly an acrobatic goal off of coming all the way from his defensive area. Turned into a corner for Ginga and did not result in anything. So Ginga still on the attack. Last 90 seconds or so of this game. I quickly mention today's match brought to you by Ally Marketing, your friend in marketing, helping you take the next step of growth in your business, a marketing business that feels more like a friend. AllyMarketing.us. And a shot here is going to find the back of the net. Thought Josh Postuma could have saved it. Great little flick on there first, coming from Eddie Jimenez, and Cole Smith being the one to finish it. He gets a hat trick on the day. Just a pretty goal there. Nice touch from Eddie Jimenez.
Great touch from Eddie Jimenez. Sometimes you think about some of the best sequences in sports, and the passes are what makes them special. That's one of them right there. What a great one touch there, picking the foot up behind the back, and then Cole has been cool as a cucumber all day, and it gives you results just like this.
And they are not done yet. Narek Gasparian, number 22 for Ginga. He's going to get onto the score sheet for the first time on the assist from Dima Sherbina. It's going to be Ginga's 13th goal with just about 60 seconds left. Certainly very difficult if you're Mitwest in this position. So little time left, and just kind of desperate for those final seconds to tick off and get into the locker room and regroup after this outing.
Absolutely. They'll be wanting to put this one behind them quickly and resetting here. A lot of youth in this squad, a lot of opportunity. They need to have a short memory as they look ahead to next week after this game and find a way to reset their start to the season.
Really, actually, just a moment ago, we saw some of the best combination play probably in possession from Mitwest. A few passes strung together in a row off a one-touch. Something really promising to see as Mitwest moves forward from this very devastating game number one, at least from a scoreline perspective.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think back to last week and Ginga, with starting their season and finding their identity, Mitwest in a very similar position. Ginga has found a way to advance quickly in this game from that. But we saw some things from Ginga last game where, there was kind of those ups and downs of the game that resulted in the scoreline in the way that it was. Mitwest needs to pull from these positives, take the same mindset as Ginga did coming out of their loss. They need to do the same thing out of their opening loss. There's a lot of season left. If I'm Mitwest, I got 9 games to go. There's lots of time to turn this thing around.
As the final whistle for half number 2 and the game certainly coming in just a few moments. It's like our score clock not quite all the way synced up with the one on site in Cincinnati. As that shot from Ibrahim Diomande is going to be saved.
It must be close. All eyes on the court on that scoreboard over there.
Yes, we did see that. Can Mitwest sneak one in the final moments? Diomande winning another corner for Mitwest. Alvaro Garcia coming up to take it. Can they find the back of the net here? Here comes the pass back. Turn and a shot. That one's going to be well wide from Ibrahim Diomande. So in the final moments of the game, your Delphin is going to restart the ball for Ginga. Another direct, and there it is. That's going to be the final whistle. Going to wrap up this game, week number 2 here in Cincinnati, Ohio. It's Ginga on top, 13-0 over the visitors of Mitwest. Got a few post-game thoughts coming up in just a few moments. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Cincinnati, Ohio. Today's FCS match brought to you by Ally Marketing, your friend in marketing. Ginga on top 13-0 at the end of this one. I'm Jared Klepp along with Jake George. Jake, this was, as we were talking off air just a moment ago, a harsh lesson for the young team of Mitwest.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we talked a lot about the guys and their age, average age of this team being only 18. And so we've been really focusing on how they have a lot to learn and they're getting their first minutes on a senior team. And man, talk about trial by fire. These guys were under the gun the whole game. Ginga playing extremely confidently. And, the mismatch as far as physicality as well was just so obvious.
Now, if you are in that locker room right now for Mitwest, what kind of things do you think are being discussed right now? As a coach, how do you address the team, right away in the locker room after a result like this?
I mean, the big thing is to keep heads up and stay focused, and I would almost say that's important for both teams. You can't let a scoreline like this get to your head
true.
If you're a winning team, but on the opposite side for Mitwest, you can't let this moment define your season. It is only game 1. There is so much season left. I mean, we're in the middle of November. This thing goes all the way to the end of March. it's time to focus and keep moving forward.
Definitely a good perspective for Mitwest to take. And on the Ginga side, not letting this win get to your heads. Obviously, they learned a lot. They talked about how much they learned from game number 1 and trying to continue to learn. So on the flip side for Ginga, what kind of positives are you taking away from this game, Jake?
The positives for Ginga, I mean, lessons learned big time here for Ginga from their first loss of the game. I mean, there's a lesson to be learned here for Mitwest and the way they turn things around. And it was a great reset moment, especially in front of the fans. I mean, that energy, you see it right here now as we're looking center stage. There's this family atmosphere, this environment of the Ginga community within Cincinnati.
Fun.
Yeah, it's awesome. And it's that fun part that Satoru talked about so much this week leading up to the game. And showing these fans how fun futsal can be. They really showcase it today, but it is, at the end of the day, a competitive league and business is business. And as they look ahead to a very challenging Lansing City team that's a little more, I'd say a little more competitive blend of youth and experience, the challenges are still ahead of them. This is just one step on the journey. There's still several other teams they need to play, and they need to not let this win get to their head and get too confident as they prepare for game number 3 in 3 weeks.
And they will host, as you mentioned, Lansing City. That's going to be next week during the upcoming FCS action next week as well. It's week number 3, November 23rd. A full slate of games as we take a look at what's going to be coming up for FCS. We have all 6 teams getting their feet on the court on the same day, starting out with the 6 p.m. game. Lansing City having their first game being hosted by Ginga. Jake, your thoughts on seeing Lansing City live for the first time this year in the FCS?
Yeah, when I think Lansing, I think Jeremy Kleppel. I mean, he has got that international experience. He's famous for his efforts at CONCACAF in the, not this past cycle, but the cycle before that took the United States to the World Cup. So you've got this kind of ace in your back pocket in a lot of ways. And the young talent around him is really, really interesting coming out of City. They, like Mitwest, using some of their academy product, and there's some really exciting players there that have already seen some international experience in the way that they've trained to prepare for this season. And it's interesting to see what rubs off from having an international expert in your group, and then also those experiences outside of that, and how does that blend and put a team together and their strategy on the court. I think it's going to be really exciting. And these two teams have faced each other in the preseason, tuning up, and Lansing looking really strong in those games. So they got to now do it outside of the arena, and they face a very daunting task of driving all the way across the league, all the way down to the Ohio River to take on Cincinnati Ginga for their first ever game.
And that will be at 6 p.m. kickoff. Coverage will begin at 5:15 p.m. And then, of course, we will see Mitwest again and Detroit Imperial. That game, as well as the Midwest and Grand Rapids game. Those 2 games are going to be starting at 8. We will begin coverage of the Grand Rapids battle immediately following, or at 7:15 p.m., the game previous. So the Battle of Grand Rapids is going to be coming to you as well. Midwest United, formerly Migos, and Grand Rapids Olay coming over from the NPL. Jake, what are you excited for in this one?
Yeah, looking at the Grand Rapids match first, I think that what's most exciting is a bit of the storyline of FCS this year is we have 2 champions in our midst. You know, we see Detroit Imperial defending the series championship, and then you see Grand Rapids Olay, who last year participated in NFPL, and we're champions there. And so there's 2 teams with a champion mentality looking at this season as a way to repeat in one way or another. And for Grand Rapids Olay, they're doing it against a new set of challenges within FCS. And their first challenge is extremely difficult as it's crosstown rival Midwest, where there's a lot of familiarity with players and teams, and these guys are very familiar with each other. So what does that mean? Are we going to see guys that know all the tricks of each other and it's going to be an absolute meat grinder? Or are we going to just see a white-hot intensity coming from this game and a really chippy act in Act 1 of this rivalry? So I think it's going to be a very entertaining start for both the Grand Rapids teams, who we haven't got to see in action just yet.
Very exciting. Not a game that you're going to want to miss. Again, we are going to have these 3 games going on next week, and we'll be broadcasting a doubleheader first, Ginga hosting Lansing City, and then the Battle of Grand Rapids of Midwest and Grand Rapids Olay. And that's going to just about do it for us here in Cincinnati, Ohio. Just a quick look at a few stats. Goalkeeper Josh Postuma from Mitwest, tallying on, let's see, how many is this? Close to 30 saves on the day. Certainly faced a lot of pressure. Oh, that's it, right? I may have missed some, but somewhere in that neighborhood. And then on the Ginga side, I mean, it's goals all over. You have Cole Smith with a hat trick. You have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players getting into the goal tally with a single goal. And then Cole Smith with a hat trick. And then, of course, Dima Sherbina with a 4-goal game today. And that's going to wrap us up tonight. The FCS action brought to you by Ally Marketing. Ginga going to exit the day 1-0-1 with 3 points in their column, and Mitwest 0-0-1 with that loss today. 0 points in their column. That's going to wrap it up for today. I'm Jared Kleppel with Jake George. Thanks so much for tuning in to FCS action today and week 2. From all of us here at FCS, we hope you have a great night and you join us for the doubleheader next week. We'll see you then.